part to come after you, my sister. I'm going to pass the offering plate. I don't know if Baldwin would want me to, though. But I am Lucy, Betty, Johnny, and Tom's grandson. They all died before I was born, so I really want to give honor and love and respect to all the ancestors, and particularly our living ancestors, like Dr. Jeremiah. Thank you so much for your presentation, particularly. And so, and thank you so much to our panelists, and I'm trying to keep my composure. They said I only have 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm trying to honor the time and honor all y'all's time. Thank you, all of y'all, for being here. Oh, I can go longer? Don't we praise God? All right. All right. And so, James Baldwin and the Black Church, a sociological exploration of faith, critique, and cultural resilience. I am a PhD student here in applied sociology and social justice. I got my MDiv from Duke Divinity School. We're going to do a look into James Arthur Baldwin's work in relation to Black faith and culture. So we all know that James Baldwin was born in 1924. He died in 1987. Bless you. He was a prominent African-American writer and social critic whose work addresses complex issues of race, identity, and religion. Baldwin, a towering figure in American literature and culture, was deeply shaped by his early experiences in the Black church. While he later rejected formal religion, Glaude says that Baldwin left the church, but the church never left Baldwin. Baldwin's relationship with the church is central to understanding his critique of American society, race relations, and cultural resilience. So I'll be going over 4 major points, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. The first point is Baldwin's critique of the Black church. The second one is faith and identity. The third one is If Bill Street Could Talk. And the fourth one is Baldwin's faith in humanity. The Black church has long served as a spiritual, cultural, and political refuge for African Americans, playing a crucial role in sustaining Black identity and resilience to systemic oppression. From the abolition of slavery to the civil rights movement, the Black church has been a symbol of hope and resilience. The Black church serves as a dual role as a space for spiritual reflection and political mobilization, fostering a sense of communal identity and collective resilience and resistance. It has always been this way, and the Black church has never died. James Baldwin's critiques of the church have often highlighted its potential to be a force of social justice. He recognized the church's role in fostering communal identity and resilience, even as he challenged it to live up to its ideals of equality, equity, and justice. Since I have a little more time, this is Baldwin and Martin King Jr. at the Du Bois Centennial Celebration at Carnegie Hall. And this other photo here, you see Rustin right here, you see Abel Randolph right here, and this was actually at the 1965 Selma to Montgomery March. This is Baldwin and his sister Paula. Baldwin was born in Harlem in 1924, which is very important to understanding the context in which Baldwin is being groomed and adjusted and really maladjusted to American society. He grew up under the heavy influence of the church, with his stepfather being a minister. And at the age of 14, Baldwin himself was a preacher. He was a Pentecostal preacher. This early immersion in the church would profoundly shape his spiritual and intellectual development. In The Fire Next Time, Baldwin shouts, "If the concept of God has any validity or any use, it can only make us larger, freer, and more loving. If God cannot do this, then it is time to get rid of him." Unquote. In his mature reflections, James Baldwin concluded that his initial embrace of Christianity was fundamentally misguided. As a young man, Baldwin turned to Christianity believing that it could offer an escape from a life of crime and the oppressive control of white Americans, plagued with the concept of white supremacy. For a time, this faith provided him with a sense of fulfillment and purpose. However, Baldwin eventually discerned that Christianity was rife with hypocrisy and was predominantly used to perpetuate white supremacy, as it still does in many cases. The Christian God he invoked failed to enlarge, liberate, or enhance the lives of African Americans, as this deity was often used to subjugate them. He did not have homogeneity of thought when it came to the black church. Baldwin argued that African Americans could not achieve true liberation through Christianity, which he viewed was a inherently white religion. Therefore, he advocated for transcending this belief system rather than clinging to it as a potential means of salvation itself. So in a sense, Baldwin may say, to find true freedom, forsake the false creed, for liberation lies in planting a new seed. Though Baldwin was profoundly shaped by the church, he later became disillusioned with its failure to address the true complexities of racial oppression. He saw the church as too focused on salvation and in the afterlife, often neglecting the immediate social justice issues of the day. Baldwin rejected the church's moral authority, critiquing its complicity and maintaining the status quo of American racism. So in 1952, published Go Tell It on the Mountain, Baldwin explores the complexities of religious faith and its impact on African American identity. He states, quote, "John's heart was hardened against the Lord. His father was God's minister, the ambassador of the King of Heaven. And John could not bow before the throne of grace without first kneeling to his father." Unquote. This quote encapsulates the complex interplay between religious authority, and familial dynamics within African American communities. Baldwin uses John's resistance to his father's religious authority to critique the patriarchal structures that often underpin religious institutions, not just in the black church, but just in the church in general. This resistance symbolizes a broader struggle against the imposition of religious dogma and the authoritarian and dogmatarian control exerted by religious leaders. For sociologists, this highlights the role of religion in reinforcing social hierarchies and the potential for religious institutions to perpetuate power dynamics that can stifle individual autonomy and critical thought. I just want to highlight here that the idea of homogeneity of thought is the death of African and African American peoples, for it is the individual autonomy and critical thought that we've been fighting for since 1619. Baldwin writes, the darkness of his sin was the hard-heartedness with which he resisted God's power, and the scorn that was often his while he listened to crying, breaking voices and watched the black skin glisten while they lift their arms and fell on the face before the Lord. Unquote. This quote from Go Tell on the Mountain provides a critical lens on the performative aspects of religious worship within the black church, and this is expressed in if Bill could talk as well. Baldwin's depiction of John's scorn and resistance to the emotional displays of faith serves as a critique of the communal pressure to conform to religious expressions that may not resonate with individual believers. This is why we have different denominations. This is why we have different types of churches. It's because people have different religious expressions that in which they resonate with differently. For academics, this underscores the tension between collective religious identity and personal spiritual experience. It also invites a sociological examination and imagination and culmination of religious rituals and emotional expressions that can serve both as a means of communal solidarity and as a mechanism for social control. The third quote I have from Go Tell on the Mountain is, "The rebirth of the soul is perpetual. Only rebirth every hour could stay the hands of Satan." Unquote. This quote emphasizes the necessity of continuous spiritual renewal as a defense against moral and spiritual decay. Dr. Otis Monson III says that we have not only been saved, but we are being saved. Baldwin's assertion that rebirth must be perpetual challenged the notion of a singular, transformative religious experience. Instead, it advocates for an ongoing process of self-examination and renewal. For sociologists, this perspective invites a deeper exploration of the ways in which religious practices and beliefs are lived and experienced over time. A lot of folks say that they're Christian and not following Jesus. It also critiques the superficiality of religious rituals that do not lead to sustained personal and communal transformation, highlighting the need for authenticity in religious life. Baldwin's oeuvre frequently interrogates the intricate tension between faith and identity, particularly with the African American experience. This tension is vividly portrayed through characters who navigate their religious convictions, who are contending with societal pressures and personal crises. Baldwin's examination reveals how faith can simultaneously shape and constrain identity, underscoring the multifaceted influence of religion on personal development and self-perception and communal identity. This is the case with any social institution. His narratives often illuminate the arduous struggle to reconcile religious teachings with the stark realities of racial discrimination and personal adversity. This juxtaposition illustrates the profound conflict between spiritual aspirations and the lived experiences of African Americans. Baldwin's work invites a sociological analysis of the ways religious institutions and beliefs intersect with issues of race, identity, and social justice, offering a critical lens on the role of faith in both empowering and limiting individual agency. This is Baldwin addressing an audience in a church in the United States in October 1963. So if Bill Street could talk, what a text. What a complicated text it is. And in this text, this is a poignant love story set in Harlem, focusing on the relationship between Tish and Fonnie. The novel explores the impact of racial injustice as Fonnie is falsely accused of a crime, highlighting the systemic racism within the American judicial system. And Baldwin writes, "Love brought you here. If you trusted love this far, don't panic now." In this work, James Baldwin analyzes the intricacies of African American life, specifically examining the influence of the Black church. Baldwin explores how the characters' interactions with the church reveal its spiritual guidance and ethical paradoxes it represents threefold. Number three's not on there. Number one, family gathering at the church. Number two, Mrs. Hunt's hypocrisy. And number three, Sharon's trip to Puerto Rico. So we saw how Tish had a classist view of the gathering, displaying the difficulties of viewing various forms of cultural and spiritual expression of theological communal connection to, with, around, and for God. This dynamic underscores the complex interplay between social norms and individual perceptions within communal and spiritual context. Number two, we have Mrs. Hunt's hypocrisy. Mrs. Hunt literally curses the child that's in her womb. She literally invokes the Holy Spirit to literally kill the child in Tish's womb. Please read the text. Mrs. Hunt's hypocrisy reflects the conflict between individual morality and institutionalized religion, emphasizing the intricate interplay between personal and societal influences. Mrs. Hunt claimed to be Christian. She went to church, and she still cursed this child. This scenario illustrates how deeply entrenched social norms can mold individual behavior and emphasize the moral intricacies with religious communities. But the hope in the text, the gospel message, is Sharon's trip to Puerto Rico. Sharon, Tish's mother, demonstrates empathy and non-judgment toward Tish's pregnancy with Bonnie's child. She advises Tish to refrain from labeling herself negatively and advocates for embracing love to navigate through Bonnie's incarceration. And Sharon's trip to Puerto Rico in search for Mrs. Rogers, the woman who wrongly accused Bonnie, illustrates the extraordinary lengths Tish's family goes in the pursuit of justice for an innocent man. Sharon's heartfelt plea to Mrs. Rogers' sense of motherhood and moral principles highlights the balance between Christian beliefs and the unwavering pursuit of justice, as they both in America have gone hand in hand for the Black church. Despite her unwavering efforts, the deeply rooted systemic obstacles ultimately prove insurmountable. This must be understood in the context of her church affiliation. So y'all know that in the book, the church that she was a member of was called Abyssinia. Abyssinia is a play on the real church in real life called Abyssinia Baptist Church in Harlem, New York. Very prominent church. In the 1970s, this book was set in 1970s Harlem. In the 1970s, in Harlem, at Abyssinia Baptist Church, Adam McLean Powell Jr. was going out as pastor. He was retiring in 1972, and Samuel Joy Proctor was becoming the pastor. This is very important because they both address systemic oppression through their sermons and activism. Powell and Proctor preached messages that were not just spiritual, but also political. They both preached not only spiritual sermons, but also political sermons that encourage folks to engage in civil rights movements and to challenge systemic oppression through activism and political participation. This is why it makes sense that Sharon is deeply rooted in social justice from a theological, from a sociological, from a Christian, and from a practical standpoint. Through these three scenarios, Baldwin examines the complicated role of the Black church in the African American community, particularly in If History Could Talk, highlighting its function as a source of communal support and spiritual comfort, while critiquing its perception of moral contradictions and failure to address systemic injustices. James Baldwin maintained a profound faith in humanity. He emphasized the potential for human connection and understanding despite his critiques of institutional religion. He believed in the capacity for individuals to transcend their circumstances, to transcend what they've been taught, and to find common ground through empathy, love, and innovative thinking. Baldwin's belief in human potential is reflected in his characters who often struggle against societal constraints, but ultimately seek connection and understanding. His narratives emphasize the importance of recognizing our shared humanity and transform power of love and compassion. For instance, in Go Tell on the Mountain, Grimes' journey is one of self-discovery and reconciliation with his identity, highlighting Baldwin's faith in personal growth and resilience. Baldwin's critique of institutional religion is intertwined with his advocacy for genuine human connection, so these things cannot be disconnected for Baldwin. He argued that true faith should inspire action and social change rather than ritual and dogma. He did not believe in throwing out the baby with the bathwater. His works often challenge the church to live up to its ideals of justice and of love, advocating for a faith that liberates rather than subjugates. And I think that these are the same ideals that perhaps America, the dream of America has had, and America itself needs to live up to these ideals as well. Summary. I like summaries. Baldwin's critique of the Black church. So we explored how Baldwin's complex relationship with the Black church highlights his critiques of its hypocrisy and its role of perpetuating racial oppression while acknowledging its potential for fostering communal resilience and social justice. We examined how Baldwin's works, particularly with Go Tell on the Mountain, depict the tension between faith and identity, illustrating the struggle to reconcile religious teachings from folks who are in power and position with the realities of racial discrimination and personal hardship. We talked about If Bill Street Could Talk, which we analyzed themes of faith, love, and endurance, showcasing Baldwin's portrayal of love as a source of hope and resistance and resilience against systemic racism. And then I shed a little bit of light on Baldwin's faith in humanity. He was not pessimist. He said that he cannot be pessimist. He said he has to be an optimist, and I'm not your Negro. We explored that Baldwin's belief in human potential and connection, and his critique of institutional religion, and his advocacy for genuine human connection and social change are vital to his underscoring philosophy. Baldwin's work remains profoundly relevant today, offering critical insights into the intersections of faith, religion, and identity. His critiques challenge us to reflect on the role of faith and the importance of striving for a more just and compassionate society. Baldwin's legacy continues to inspire and provoke thought, innovative thought, reminding us of the enduring power of literature to illuminate the human condition. In the echo chambers of time, we hear Baldwin whispering, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Thank you.